Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be going over 3 players whose stock went down after this preseason game against the Carolina Panthers, and I'll be talking about how their performance affects their chance to make the roster or their role for the 2022 season. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 9,000 subscribers. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications, and check out real-time fantasy sports, link in the description. Also guys, I'm excited to announce that I just started writing for Stadium Rant about the Washington Commanders. So I've already written a couple articles. Links will be in the description. Go ahead and check them out. One on the standouts from training camp, and one talking about stock up and stock down after the first preseason game. So last video I talked about the 5 players whose stock went up. Today we'll be talking about the players whose stock went down after the preseason game. You know, there weren't too many players, but one in particular, his stock went down a ton, more than anyone else on the team, and I think everyone knows who that is. So we're going to start off with Antonio Gibson. His stock went down a ton after this game, and you know, this is a tweet right here saying Antonio Gibson could seriously get benched if he keeps fumbling, and I agree. And you know, some people think Brian Robinson is already RB1, and you know, there's no going back, like he's going to be RB1 for the rest of the season. And some people like me are kind of still in the middle. Like, I think that Gibson could still start the season off as RB1 if he doesn't fumble the rest of the way and if he stays healthy. But and some people think Antonio Gibson should be RB1. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. But if Gibson fumbles again in preseason or in training camp happens a couple more times, like, I think Robinson's going to be the one, you know, taking a lot of the carries. And I think regardless, Robinson will be getting a decent amount of carries to start off the season. They could be splitting carries to see who really is more dominant and take it from there. You look at it though, he fumbled again, continuing that fumbling problem that he had last year. And not only fumbling, it's one thing if you fumble it, you know, when you're past the 50-yard line and you're doing you have a nice drive going, but you know, it's not the end of the world. But not always, but a lot of his fumbles are inside your own 20 or in the red zone. So it just is really his fumbles really suck. Last year, it possibly cost us a win against the Chargers, where, you know, we were up and he fumbles at, you know, inside our 5-yard line, and the Chargers score on the next play. So that was directly 7 points to them. And also we lost out on the opportunity to score on that drive. So that happened last year. He also fumbled, I know, at least once in the red zone, but I think we recovered it, and just a bunch of like untimely fumbles, and that just can't happen. And also has a bunch of injury issues. And some people say, because I said this yesterday or in 2 days ago after the recap, like, Gibson also not only has fumbling issues but injury issues, and people were like, you know, well, he plays through his injuries, he never, you know, misses games, and that's fine. But that still doesn't, you know, not make him injury prone. He is injury prone. He always gets injured, and he is tough though. Like, he does play through injuries, which is great, but like, it is an issue, and you know, he's always banged up. But right now, I mean, he's coming off the hamstring injury, but like, there were no reports of him, you know, being bothered by it the last couple weeks. So I don't think it had anything to do with the fumble. And yeah, his stock's definitely down. And you know, not only did he play really bad, you know, poorly, he had 4 carries, 2 yards, so 0.5 yards per carry, had the fumble, but also right after that, Brian Robinson came in and balled out. He's 6 carries, 26 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. A lot of those were short yard situations where probably the expected yards per carry were like 1 or 2, and he got like 3 or 4. So, and he got a touchdown and then 2 catches for 15 yards, I believe. Let's go back. 2 catches, 15 yards. So he played well for sure, and Gibson didn't play well. And then also, Gibson, it's not like, you know, he had the fumble and he's out of the game. No, he got work with the second team after the first team was done. So that kind of definitely had to sting a little bit for Antonio Gibson, getting work with the second team after fumbling. You could see he was very frustrated after that fumble. And I mean, I get it, but it just can't happen again. And if it happens, he's going to have, I mean, he already has a short leash, but it's going to be very short once the season starts. If it happens again, he's probably not going to be getting many carries. So, yeah, he's had a bunch of warnings. And, yeah, so, I mean, it's better to happen in the preseason, the regular season, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stop fumbling. Next guy on this list is Taylor Heinecke, and I agree with Dre here. He says, I'm going to always respect Taylor Heinecke. I know people joked on his arm strength and hated him as a starter, but any team would love to have him as a backup, and we got the most out of him in every game. Totally agree. I think he's a perfect backup to have, and, you know, someone in my recap video said, you know, I was a Howell hater, even though I said Sam Howell balled out, just because I said I still think that Heinecke should be the backup. I think Heinecke should be the backup this year, unless Sam Howell continues to, you know, ball out, and it's just so clear in practice and everything that he is better than Heinecke. Heineke's going up against the second string with the second team guys. You know, Howell's with the third team. So just keep that in mind. But, you know, Heineke's got the experience. He knows the offense really well. His teammates love him. I think he's good as a backup. Let Howell really develop behind everyone for the rest of the year. And then after the season's over, if you feel good about Howell, then Howell will be your backup next year, and you can, you know, let Heinecke go. But I really agree with this tweet right here. Let's see, and this tweet by Rio as well. I don't need to see Heinecke in the preseason, though. That's one thing. Like, I think they're going to still play him, but we know what Heinecke is. We know what he is. These preseason reps aren't going to really help him that much. There's not really that many new guys that he needs to get work with, so I don't need to see him that much. But Howell, I would love for Wentz to get a half and Howell to get a half next game. I know it's not going to happen, but that's just something that I would love, to happen. But I just don't think it's going to happen. But Howell needs those reps. Give him as many reps as possible. And Heinecke, you know, it would be nice if one game Heinecke sat out. So Howell could get those reps. But yeah, Heinecke, you look at the stats. He had 2 rushes for 14 yards, still speedy, still, you know, able to avoid the pressure, but went 4 for 9 for 21 yards, 1 interception. Just didn't look really sharp, honestly. Had that 1 interception. He also had one where Dax Milne was open and he kind of sailed him. He wasn't he wasn't accurate in this game and had that interception. Just, you know, it wasn't his best outing, and he honestly didn't even get that much playing time, which is good for, like, I think that's what they should do. But yeah, he definitely struggled a little bit, and I still think he's going to be the backup for the season, but his stock went a little bit lower, and you combine that with Howell, him performing well, that kind of, you know, boosts Howell's stock up, and Heineke's down a little bit. So yeah, we'll see. But I just still think that Heinecke will be the backup for the rest of the year. So next guy is Danny Johnson. I did not think Danny Johnson played well. I thought, I saw him consistently get beat pretty much the whole game. There was one play where he actually had some good coverage and was able to force the incompletion. But besides that, I think there was at least 3 catches that were 100% on Danny Johnson, maybe even more. And it felt like each unit had that one corner where it was just screwing up the rest of the defense that was playing solid. And then you have that one corner or one linebacker like, Danny Johnson or David Mayo that would just screw something up and they get an easy completion. And yeah, I noticed in a recap video that, I didn't see Benjamin St. Juste, and yeah, he didn't play that game because of hamstring tightness. So Johnson was the starter in the slot, and he did not impress. I think that he possibly could get cut, and you could keep Benjamin St. Juste, William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, Corn Elder, and Christian Holmes. But Danny Johnson still has a solid shot at making the roster because, again, he was the first guy on the bench getting the reps. Once Benjamin St. Juste went out, he was the starter. So definitely, he'll still probably make it, but if he continues to perform like this and the other guys behind him play well, he could possibly not make the roster. So those are the kind of main guys that stood out. Some other players that, maybe they didn't do much. You could say Cam Sims, didn't really see him much on offense. But there's other receivers that really didn't do much as well. I'm trying to think. Sammis Reyes, he only played 2 snaps. And I saw something about, I think he posted or something that he was injured. So maybe that had a little bit to do with it. But I don't know, man. Him not only playing 2 snaps in his special teams, that should be a little bit concerning. Even though Jarrett Patterson played really well, you saw him, he was behind Jonathan Williams on the depth chart, which I don't necessarily agree with. But, you know, I think both of them actually have been playing well, but I really like Patterson. I think he should make the roster, at least have a chance to make it, but it doesn't look like it. So the stock's going a little bit down. I would say Carrick McGowan as a returner didn't look particularly good. I would say the only returner that looked good was Dax Milne as a punt returner. So those are kind of the, you know, main guys. Joey Sly missed an extra point, and then maybe the other. Let's see, anyone else? Nothing really. Who had? I think Shakatoni had a face mask, so that's something bad right there. Reeves was in the middle because he had a nice sack, but he also had that penalty at the end of the game. So that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace.